waiting for the lights. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the 10th annual ASPiH conference. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to a special, momentous occasion for ASPiH, and I'm sure for many of you who attend our conferences every year. It's special because it is our 10th anniversary, and it's also special because we have several delegates who have come from different parts of the world to be with us today. We have friends who have come from New Zealand, Australia, other parts of Europe, Iceland, and many, many other countries. So it's very special, and thank you for coming today to celebrate our 10th anniversary. It's been a very interesting journey, and as president of ASPiH over the last few years, I've enjoyed the enormous contribution that many, many other ASPiH supporters have given given the organization. And we have had several achievements. And the three important achievements, I think, which will be of relevance to many of us today, are the journal. Firstly, the journal is something which I think we are extremely proud of because it captures all of the work that we do, and we not only provide an opportunity and a platform to share it, but also I think what it signals is that we are maturing as a community, and we are moving on to the next phase where we are proving that simulation is not just an educational tool, but a tool that can impact patient care. Alongside the journal, we've had several other achievements, and the standards particularly comes to light, especially with relevance to many of the conversations that are currently happening within healthcare. It's so important that simulation begins to have an impact, and when it has an impact, it is important that what we're delivering can be sustainable and reproducible. And for all of these reasons, the standards that we created, along with the input of all the stakeholders and the simulation community in the UK, has meant so much, I think, to many of us. To capture the achievements and to promote the work that we do, the accreditation platform has provided us the opportunity to meet so many of the bright lights within the community and to celebrate it. And we will do that again this evening when we present our awards. There are so many people who are behind these achievements. Bryn Baxendale, who was our president when we started on this journey. Peter J., who helped us with the journal. Alan Platt, Frank Coffey, I mean, there's so many. And I think a big thanks is due to all of them to help us, who have helped us to bring ASPiH to the organization of repute that it is today. The challenges that we face as a community are many, and it is very important that we come together to celebrate this and to celebrate the challenges, because these challenges are the ones which will help us to move forward. We could not have chosen a better place than Belfast to celebrate our achievements and to share the challenges and ideas for the future. Mike Morrow, who's been our lead for the organizing committee, and along with his fantastic local organizing committee, has provided us a great program, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy it and learn from the various speakers and workshops. The challenges within healthcare are very many, and a big challenge I think we have is that the way healthcare is being delivered today is going to change. It's changing, and it's going to change even further dramatically over the next few years. McKinsey actually has come up with this very interesting report, and if you're interested, I think it's worth a read. It talks about the concept of how hospitals don't exist anymore. And much of the facts that which are mentioned and theories that are mentioned in this paper, I think are applicable to whether you work in the secondary care or not. If we have to help healthcare improve in the future, then we also have to make sure that we, as simulation innovators, change the way we deliver simulation and also help our organizations to move forward. The NHS Long-Term Plan talks about making preventative care a reality, changing the way we deliver care so that more care is provided at the front line, and to provide innovations which can use our resources more sensibly. Money is always scarce, and I think that's something that we see day in and day out. And yet, the waste that we have within our healthcare systems are huge. We have an opportunity to make a difference to all of that, to make healthcare more safe, effective, and efficient. Many of the challenges that we have today are probably triggered by lack of understanding of what the problem is. The NHS Safety Strategy is another document which I think is highly relevant to many of us in simulation today. I think the challenge we have, which is facing us, is where do we bracket simulation? Do we bracket it as an educational tool, or do we bracket it as a quality improvement tool? Do we bracket it as an improvement science tool, or do we bracket it as a governance tool, as a risk management tool? I suppose it's a bit of everything. The danger will be that if we decide we are one of those and stick to it. The patient safety strategy talks about the 3 I's. It's about involving frontline. It's about innovating. It's about improving. It talks a lot about the safety to culture and how it can improve patient safety. Like all good documents, it does not talk much about how you can deliver it. I think that's left to the reader and to people like us to work out how we can do it. But simulation is a fantastic tool, and a tool that I think we should use to make that a reality. We have a great opportunity to come together through the conference to look at new ways of using simulation, new ways of innovating, new ways of sharing our experiences so that we can make that a reality. So enjoy the conference, and I hope you have plenty of opportunities to network, to learn, and to value the input that each one of you will have in making that patient safety a reality for today and for generations to come. So welcome again to the ASPiH conference. What we would normally do at this point is to give you the opportunity to meet our exec. But we thought with the interest of time, we would just share the pictures of them. Some of them perhaps are here. Well, actually all of them are here except for Alan. So I'm just going to ask them to stand up and wave their hands so you know who the execs are. And these are individuals who are keen to connect with you, and also if you have any ideas for improvement or you have any ideas of how ASPiH can help the community, please feel free to contact us. And if I can just ask Michael, embarrass him at this point, to stand up. Michael Moneypenny is our president-elect, and he takes over from me next year. He particularly asked me not to do it, so I thought I will do it. So, okay. So I'll pass on to Mike now, who will introduce you to the program over the next 2 days.
Okay, so thank you very much, Purva, for that very stimulating introduction. So, well, good morning, everyone, and a very, very warm welcome indeed to Belfast and ASPiH's 10th anniversary conference. As Purva says, I've had the pleasure of chairing the local organising committee over the last year or so in pulling together what we hope is going to be a really stimulating couple of days for you. We have a record number of delegates here. We have a record number of abstract submissions, and I think we have actually genuinely got something for everyone. All, of course, supported, as usual, by an outstanding range of trade and industry sponsors. So just a few housekeeping issues for you. No planned fire drills today, so if the siren does sound, please make your way to the fire exits as indicated and gather in the muster areas outside the building. The Wi-Fi code, as you can see, is there, and there is no password for that. And please do download the ASPiH app, and the code there is ASPiH19. Programs, hopefully you've all got those already. If you haven't, they are available at the registration desk, and any abstracts that you wish to peruse at your leisure are available in the BMJ supplement and also on the app. And please do visit the poster presentations in Boardroom 1 and the poster boards at the back of the exhibition hall. I'm sure you're all busy tweeting away. Let's hope so. Anyway, we want to get the word out there, so that's how you access all of that, which is way beyond my technical capabilities, so I'm trusting you guys to do it for us. So much really has happened over the last 10 years in the world of simulation, both in the UK and Ireland. So now I felt like the right time to pause, reflect on how far we've come, and recognize our successes and the very occasional failure. But more importantly, to take the opportunity to come together and create a vision for the next 10 years. So for this conference, we thought it would be a really excellent opportunity to bring together the main simulation bodies across these islands, namely the ASPiH, obviously, the Irish Association for Simulation, who I know many of my colleagues from that organization are with us today, and also the Northern Ireland Simulation and Human Factors Network, which I have the pleasure of chairing. And I would like to thank all the members of these organizations, far too many to enumerate this morning, but without their support and outstanding effort over the last year or two, we would not have been able to get you to where you are today. And it's really wonderful to see that ambition come to fruition. I think yesterday, those of you who were here saw a wonderful and hugely successful series of pre-conference workshops, including our first ever research event held up at Queen's University in Belfast. And all of these have been delivered with interprofessional faculty drawn from across the British Isles. Our scientific program this year is packed full of exciting sessions for you, including 6 keynote speakers drawn from across the world who are going to share their expertise in simulation and ergonomics with you. And I think those of you who were here last night are aware that we aren't the only organization celebrating a significant anniversary this year. 50 years after man first set foot on the moon, we had our very own astronaut open the meeting yesterday with a live video link from the Johnson Space Center in Houston. That was Nigel Packham, the Associate Director for Mission Assurance at NASA, who provided us with a fascinating account of management of risk on land, air, sea, and in space. So I think that was a really wonderful start to what we hope is going to be an equally stimulating couple of days. And as if that wasn't enough, we have our very own Belfast boy, Mark Gallagher, coming next after me to talk about how Formula One manages risk and performance through the use of simulation. And he will be joined over the next 2 days by Walter Epic from Northwestern University in Chicago, Ruth Endicott from Monash University in Australia, and Paul O'Connor from the National University of Ireland. And tomorrow we have the pleasure of hearing from our ex-president, Helen Hyam, who's going to give her perspective on where ASPiH has been and where we might be going in the next 10 years or so. So I can't really think of a better way to conclude our birthday celebrations than hearing Helen's musings. So looking forward to that. At this stage, I don't plan to go into much further detail about our keynote speakers, other than to say that I think it is, without doubt, one of the most prestigious and strongest panels yet that ASPiH has been able to put forward for you. So I hope you do enjoy their input. There are many specialist workshops to attend, and don't forget to pay the tech room a visit. And I would like to specifically thank Scotia UK for sponsoring the attendance of 6 simulation technicians at this meeting, and this is a fantastic development for us, as our sim techs are indispensable to the delivery of sim at the sharp end, but very often find it quite difficult to gain the support and time they need to attend meetings like this. So thank you to Scotia for that. I think at this stage I'm just going to pause for a moment, let Helen introduce this component.
Thanks very much, Mike. Thanks everyone. Just for a moment, we're going to pause and think about something really, I think, quite momentous for ASPiH. We've been working really hard over the past 3 or 4 years, and we are delighted to announce that this year, for the first time, we have achieved accreditation as a patients-included conference. I've got a lot of people to thank for this, including the whole of the Exec, who've been incredibly supportive, but 3 special people this year. So You'll see their pictures up there. Dawn Benson, William Johnson and Bill McKnight, all of whom will be here throughout the conference and at the dinner tonight. Do please come and talk to them. We'll also be running a patient involvement workshop in the next session after coffee, so do please come along. We'll be up in 1A. It's going to be really great. We're terribly proud of it. We have achieved all 5 of the goals, and we want to do a lot more going forward. I'm also delighted to announce that Carrie Hamilton will be taking over from me to lead on this in the Exec as I step down this year. But as it's a special occasion, we wanted to mark the moment with an award. And so, rather fortunately this year, we have in the audience a patient, William Johnson, who happens to have been an alumni at this university. So we thought very carefully about what we would do and decided that an award for outstanding and sustained contribution to patient involvement in simulation-based education would be an important marker of this accreditation this year in our 10th anniversary. So I'm going to ask William Johnson to come to the stage because we would like to present this award to the University of Portsmouth this year. And I know that Isabel Ryder is in the audience, who heads up the nursing programme in Portsmouth. They have been doing amazing work. I know a lot of you in the audience do great work with patient involvement, but when we look back over the years at what's come through ASPiH, Portsmouth stood out. So Isabel, are you there, please? And William, would you come to the stage? So, do you mind if we just get a picture? Thank you. So come on.
So, musical podiums seems to have worked. Good. So, a long time ago, in a galaxy far away, where humans and many species of robots and droids interacted, a battle took place between interprofessional teams. This year, we're very pleased to announce that this battle will be taking place in another galaxy quite close to you, just next door in the immersive environment. And we would be thrilled if you could support this event. It's a first, I think, for us on this scale, anyway, certainly across the British Isles. I'd particularly like to thank Peter Mallet and Ben McNaughton from the Children's Hospital in Belfast, Leo Mansell, one of our final year medical students at Queen's University, and Jimmy Condon and his team from Simwars Ireland for the massive amount of effort that has gone into putting this event on. And I think without their support, none of this would have taken place. So we're hoping that the final will be broadcast live tomorrow, technology permitting, so please do look out for that. The bit you've been looking forward to, gala dinner this evening in Belfast City Hall. And I would particularly like to thank Belfast City Council for their kind offer of this fantastic venue. Any of you who've not had the pleasure of being in the City Hall yet, I think you're in for a treat. So we have drinks reception 7:30, dinner itself at 8, and then I think allegedly a little bit of entertainment after that that's supposed to get you up on your feet, and I think that will do. And the dress code is smart casual, as you can see. So what's this up here for? Well, I think many of you, certainly overhearing people yesterday, I got the impression for many of you this was the first visit to Belfast. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about where we are and some of the things that we have contributed over the years in the short amount of time I have left. Fairly standard looking satellite photograph, although actually this one isn't. This one was sourced for us by Nigel Packham, and it's taken from the International Space Station by one of his colleagues for us. So that's Belfast at night. You can see the bright lights in the centre is basically where you're sitting. The dark area to your north is Belfast Lough and out into the Irish Sea. So it's nice to have that. If we zoom in a little bit, you can see a slightly better perspective. You're sitting where the end of the arrow is in the city centre, and you can see the River Lagan bisecting the city. The history of Belfast as a settlement goes back a long way, 5,000 years or more to the Iron Age. But its status as a major urban centre really dates to the mid to late 18th century. And the name Belfast itself, for those of you who are interested, is from the Gaelic Béal Feirste, where Béal means a river mouth and Feirste means a ford. So it's really the ford across the river mouth. I know Purva's already benefited from some of the wisdom of our local taxi drivers, as she mentioned in her opening speech yesterday. And those of you who've also had the pleasure of some of your trips in from the airport may have already encountered some of the unique banter. You have entered a land of rather unusual and unique expression where everything, no matter how big or important it is always described as we. For instance, we don't order a plate of chips here, we have a wee chip. We also benefit from at least 4 different types of bread with our breakfast because we don't really get enough carbohydrates with our chips. I hope you've all benefited from that this morning. We like to eat seaweed for some bizarre reason. Many of us think it tastes a bit like bacon. It's dulse, for those of you who don't know. And just about any situation, no matter how dire, can always be improved by a bag of potato, cheese and onion crisps. And I'm glad to see that they were being distributed yesterday for the workshops. So on a more serious note, though, I thought it might be interesting to look very briefly at some of the more significant contributions the sons and daughters of Belfast have made to medicine, science and the arts over the years. There's so many to choose from, but I sort of picked a few just to look at very briefly. William Thomson, Lord Kelvin, as he went on to be, who basically described the absolute temperature scale and the second law of thermodynamics, was a Belfast boy from Royal Belfast Academical Institution just up the road. John Boyd Dunlop, the inventor of the pneumatic tire. I think certainly our next speaker will be familiar with some of his products. And C.S. Lewis, author of the Narnia series. Jonathan Swift, who gained his inspiration for the giant from Cave Hill, which overlooks the city. He felt it looked a bit like a sleeping giant. And the Lilliputians were named after Lilliput Street in North Belfast, allegedly, so something I didn't know. And then Jocelyn Bell Burnell, who is a world-renowned astrophysicist, who first discovered radio pulsars in the early 1970s as a graduate student, so a bit of encouragement for the students out there. Dr. Bell, however, was not one of the recipients of the 1974 Nobel Prize in Physics. It went to her research supervisor, so I hope things have improved on that score. However, as this is a meeting where resuscitation plays a central role, I don't think there's any better person than this individual, who has been described as the father of modern resuscitation. This is Professor Frank Pantridge. He studied medicine at Queen's University before the war, went on to serve in the Royal Army Medical Corps, and received a military cross during the fall of Singapore in 1942. He then had the misfortune to spend the rest of the war building the Burma Railway as a guest of the Japanese, and that was an experience that shaped the rest of his life. However, when he returned to Northern Ireland in 1957, he and his colleague John Geddes introduced the first form of modern CPR. And further study led him to realize that most patients died from ventricular fibrillation before they could actually reach hospital. So he went on to develop the first mobile coronary care unit in the world and the first portable defibrillator. The first portable defibrillator wasn't that portable, actually. It was 70 kilograms, but it was installed for the very first time in 1965 in a Belfast ambulance. And by 1968, actually, he'd gone on to manufacture a 3-kilogram version, believe it or not, at the request of NASA. So it closes the circle quite nicely for us. We're now so familiar with the easy availability of AEDs, of which I'm sure there are a number in this venue. So I think it is fitting to thank the man we have responsible for creating that. So to bring this brief introduction to a close, I'd like to finish by thanking all the staff of the conference centre. They've been absolutely brilliant so far, particularly in linking us up to the United States last night, and they'll be looking after you for the next 2 days. I'd also like to thank Visit Belfast and Tourism Northern Ireland, who've done so much to ensure that the travel arrangements and accommodation arrangements for you all have been hopefully smooth and of such a high standard. All in all, I think we're in for what promises to be an amazing 10th birthday celebration of all things simulation. So thank you all for making the effort to come across the water to Belfast from all parts of the UK and Ireland and across the world. So I'm going to leave you for a few moments with Belfast's motto, which reads pro tanto quid retribuamus. As you can tell, I'm not Boris Johnson, but it essentially translates as, what shall we give in return for so much? I think that's quite appropriate. So now I'd like to introduce our next speaker. And it's a great pleasure indeed for us to be able to introduce you to, as I say, one of our Belfast boys from Fort William, just up the road. He's no longer in Fort William, though. Mark has gone on to forge out a phenomenal career in Formula One racing over the last 30 years, and that included spending 15 years on the management board of 2 Formula One teams, Jordan Grand Prix and Red Bull Racing. And until 2012, he headed up the Cosworth Formula One engine company. He's worked with some of the key motor racing names and world champions over the years, including Ayrton Senna, Michael Schumacher, and Mika Hakkinen. He has been chair of the Safety Working Group for Formula One, and again has phenomenal insight into safety in a high-risk organization. Today he runs his own consulting business and is a Formula One commentator and analyst for organizations such as BBC, Sports, and Sky. So I'm going to hand you over to Mark now, and can't wait to hear what he has to say. Thank you.